Uh, We'll have several signing in as we'll be speaking, I'm assuming. And in the same process, I'd like to remind people that you're at the Board of Zoning Appeals for Beavercreek Township in order to hear two cases tonight, both variances. Before we get the meeting actually started, we'll do roll call. And the way we run the meeting, because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, that we will hear from the staff, then we will ask someone to speak for the applicant, and then we'll listen to any other public testimony for the application. After that, we will ask for people who wish to make general comments or speak against the application. After all public participation has been completed, we will close that portion of the meeting, open it up amongst the members of the board for debate and making a decision on how the case should be handled. So with that said, would you please read the announcement for the first case for tonight after roll call?
Mr. Martinsek?
Present.
Ms. Gottwald? Present. Mr. Huntsman?
Present.
Mr. Hemrich?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here. All right, so I'll read the notice for case 847. The purpose of the hearing is so that the Board of Zoning Appeals may review and act on a variance request, case number 847, made by property owner Nina Yoshi. The nature of the request is to seek a variance from the requirement that swimming pools, including aprons, may not be located closer than 10 feet to any property line. That requirement is found in Article 18.231B of the zoning resolution. I have a staff report if you'd like me to.
Please.
All right, so the applicant, the person who turned in the application is Heatwave Pools on behalf of their customer, Nina Yoshi, who's the property owner. They are requesting that variance that I just described from the location requirements of the pool not being closer than 10 feet to a property line. So staff did originally issue a permit that was compliant with the zoning resolution for this project. During the construction of that pool, the pool contractor made revisions to that plan that were not communicated to our office. Lori had done an inspection which showed where the pool was going to be located, said, yep, this matches. And then during construction, there were some issues with the product, and I'll let the applicant speak a little bit more towards that. Suffice to say, they moved to the location of the pool, and that location was not compliant with the zoning resolution. So again, it's our understanding that this revision was made due to the contractor receiving materials for the job that weren't made to their specifications, so kind of doing as good as they can with what they have kind of a situation. It doesn't excuse, setting up a pool in a non-approved location, but we don't think it was done maliciously or anything like that, just a well-intentioned mistake. So this unfortunately did result in a property line dispute between the homeowner and Country Club of the North, whose property the homeowner abuts. There was a belief by the homeowner that certain marking flags, which the club uses to mark out of bounds lines for the golf course, were actually property line markers. They are not. And so the owner believed that their property line was, almost 20 feet out from where it actually was, which would, again, was part of the reason why this pool was kind of put in without additional, we got plenty of room, Now, we were made aware by the the property manager of Country Club of the North, like, hey, someone's, putting landscaping and maybe fence posts on our property, and that's what brought this to our attention. So we worked with the contractor, Heatwave Pools. We think we've come to an equitable solution that should, be as minimally non-compliant as possible. We even they tried to work with the owner to see if there was some sort of solution that would not let them, or not require variance at all, but the specific needs of the job and the requirements of the customer kind of led us to this point. So again, we did consider this revision an unintended infraction, no ill intent. It is important to note, though, that the owner, the fence contractor, nor the pool contractor commissioned a survey of the property line. So we were informed that the Greene County GIS website tool was being, we all,
No.
yes, correct. We
No.
know that that is not an acceptable tool. It is mentioned on their site that this should not be used as
Right.
Location software or anything of the like. So we believe that as far as we're aware, and speaking with Brian Corey, who's their property manager for CCN, that the issue for the property line is resolved. The owner understands where her property line is now. It's my understanding, at least at this point, that they're going to allow the plantings to remain, but the fence that she wants to put up will have to be on her property line. It's been surveyed, so we believe that issue is resolved. Staff does recommend approval of the requested variance. We think that the plan that was finally submitted, the edge of the pool is 10 feet away. It's the apron that is encroaching, and arguably that's an at-grade improvement when you think about it. I mean, it's part of the pool only in that it surrounds the pool.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it would be like pouring concrete, which technically anybody could do. They could pour their whole yard concrete if they wanted to, because it's an at-grade improvement. So kind of based on those two competing philosophies, we're thinking if the apron's the only thing encroaching, we have very little issue with the overall design. There's enough room, 4 feet of space, for them to manicure that grass area between the fence and the apron. Fencing will be around the yard, and some pretty tall fencing. We don't expect anybody to be, getting unauthorized access to the pool by it being this close to the fence or anything like that. The owner does have an oddly shaped lot, and you'll notice too in the plot plan, which we do think contributes a little bit to kind of the difficulty in reorganizing where this pool location was going to be. There's not a lot of places to really put it without encroaching, unless you want to move it all the way on the other side of the house, which I think the owner has reasonable reason to not want to do that. So that is why we're recommending approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, well, we will hold you to that as we hear the rest of the case. So with that stated, is there someone here tonight that wishes to speak for the case?
Yes.
Okay, there should be a card on the podium there that you should insert your name and address and read the rest of it into the record.
This? Okay. I, Austin Thomas, speaking on behalf of Nina Joshi for the address of 2312 Annandale Place. It's solely swear that the statement that I am about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth and of the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you.
So basically, I just want to start off by saying we fully understand we're at fault here. That when the project started, we had this design. We started this way back in January. We had a landscape designer come in to create this plan. A couple weeks before we actually go to build the pool, we've got all of our product in. We realized that the way the stairs coming into the pool and there's a bench, the way it's oriented doesn't match the design. So I tried to come up with the best solution to be able to have the pool, to also have the area, because we've got one side of the deep end that is a hill. We've got to do a rock retaining wall right there, so it kind of restricts the area right there. So to be able to put a step entry in there, this whole area would have had to been basically excavated out, retaining wall put in. It wasn't really kind of the design we're going for. It was more of a natural design, putting natural rock in to match some pavers and stuff to kind of create this feel of more of a natural pool. Given the shape of the pool, it's a lagoon style pool, so it's got a lot of curvature to it. And we wanted to create this, beautiful backyard for them that, you know, looks over the golf course and everything. Push comes to shove, we realize the mistake. I go through distribution to try and figure out what can be done here. What can I do to kind of switch everything around? The way the pool's built, these stairs are attached to the wall, so it's actually part of the main construction of the pool. And they tell me the only thing that I can do is have everything remade, and I wouldn't get it until November of this year. COVID's kind of affected our business heavily in getting product in, so we tried to come up with the best solution. We rotated the pool and thought we were still within the guidelines of kind of what we had submitted. Push comes to shove, the property line wasn't where we had thought it was. It was purely ignorance on our part. And once we'd realized this, we kind of stopped work and tried to move towards a solution that would work best for everybody. The pool and the yard, given the yard's kind of constricted in certain areas, basically comes into a triangle shape behind the house. And there is a large area on the side of the property where a pool looks like it would fit, but it's such a steep grade that the amount of retaining walls, the cost, just wasn't really doable there. So we decided we were going to go with this location. It worked out best for the house. And this is kind of what I've came up with as far as kind of meeting the middle grounds of working with having some patio area that still allows them to get around the pool in front of the house, where you look where it's got the kick out on the house in front of the front part of the pool, as well as keeping the pool away from the property line as much as possible. So I tried to find the best common grounds there so that it wouldn't become A, a choke point between the pool and the house, and then B, that it wouldn't be so close to the property line. So what we're asking is that the pool be able to sit 10 feet from the property line, and that we actually have the apron. And this apron is a full paver apron. So they are things that are able to be removed. It's not concrete that's going to be hard to remove later on for whatever reason might need it be. So this kind of was what I came up with as kind of trying to meet the best of everybody's worlds here. Like Max had said, this was not ill intent. This wasn't to just try and get away with something. It was pure ignorance on our part. That's really about it. I'm just trying to go about it the best way that makes everybody happy.
Okay. You've been in the pool business for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you always use the GIS to find your boundaries?
For the most part, because most of the time it's a backyard and a subdivision where you've got a house directly behind them. We're not really in areas where, you know, we've got this wide open field behind it unless it's a large property, and at that point we're dealing with acreage, and it's not really a big deal. When it comes to something like this, with the golf course being right there, I do use the GIS for pretty much every county. That's how I submit my permit. I actually physically impose a pool on the GIS. Most of the time, we're well within our setback, so it's never kind of an issue. So if, you know, a certain setback is I have to be 10 foot off the property line, I'm usually, you know, well within that. So it's never really, I've never ran into this issue before. Finding out from Max and Lori that for Greene County, you guys recommend not using the GIS. That was new to me, and, you know, again, that was pure ignorance on my part. Typically, like I said, it's not, this is kind of a more of a specific case with how the property line is. And looking at the GIS and kind of where the property line falls, it made sense in my mind with how all the neighboring fences were. The direct neighbor doesn't have a fence in the yard, but the neighbors past them do. So kind of going line of sight, it all made sense. So I didn't really assume that we were in the wrong there. Push comes to shove, when the property does get surveyed, we find out that the pool currently had sat 1 foot from the property line. This whole past week, I've had crews out there tearing this pool out, taking all the walls down. We've had our footer in place. We're basically ready for an apron to go in place. And we've pulled out all the backfill. We've pulled out all of the panels. I think I've got 3 panels that are left. So we've worked tirelessly for the past week, 4 or 5 guys, upwards to 6 or 7 on a crew dedicated strictly to this job to get the pool moved out of place, just to kind of help in this process of trying to show that we're trying to do what's right. We're trying to make it to where, you know, we're really not trying to, you know, make anybody mad or, you know, go about this in the wrong way. So we've kind of tried to jumpstart it to get it to where, you know, we're figuring out with my proposal what we're gonna have to do to actually create this, since we've already excavated the pool, and the way the pool sat originally, it's it's kind of an extensive job, so it takes a lot of time for us to get to the point where we can get to this product now.
With the negotiations, I guess I'd call them, with the Country Club of the North,
Mhm.
what was the initial stance of the country club? What did they want?
So we initially came to them and we're like, she'd offered to buy this unused portion of property. And that kind of was, they were entertaining the thought, but the idea of having to parcel it out and everything like that, it kind of came to a stale there. And then CCN had said, we'll work with you on what we can do. They'd originally said they wouldn't even care if the fence was on, but I know through zoning, the fence has to be on the property line. So they agreed to, if you want to do some landscaping on the outside of the fence, that's technically CCN's property, they were okay with that so that, it could help beautify and still bring in some screening there so that you're not so exposed to the golf course while players are out on the course, but you could still get the effect of seeing the golf course. So some low-lying screening, some landscaping, stuff like that to be able to kind of help beautify this area right there.
Okay. And they are in agreement with allowing the fence to go on the property line now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the neighbor is also?
Yes.
Okay.
So the fence,
It is.
it's gotta be 5 foot high. What kind of fence is it?
It's an aluminum fence.
Is it privacy fence? Or
No, just an aluminum. Best way to explain it's kind of like wrought iron fencing where it's got slatting,
So 4
but it's an
foot, 4 inch
aluminum.
spacing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And I can tell you that, our new procedure since last year was to ensure that a fence permit was present with any pool permit, because we ran into those issues of people not getting the fence done. So we believe that the fence, in the proper location is the correct fencing needed to surround the pool. So
Is there any utilities along the fence line?
Not along the fence line, no.
None of the fence line?
Nope. Nope. The only utilities that come in are up towards the top right of the house, and they're not even really in that area there. Yep. And then there is
But there's no other right-of-ways that are around there?
none that we're aware of.
Okay, thank you.
So who discovered the issue?
the surveyor did. When the surveyor came out to survey for the actual fencing. Because we as a company, we don't require that it's surveyed, because like I said, typically we're in an area where you're kind of landlocked by properties. It's pretty, you can tell where property lines are within a certain amount. And I typically use the GIS to kind of get me close, and I always try to give myself some leeway when it comes to setbacks to property lines. So if somebody's wanting to put in a big pool and we're getting close to property lines, I talk them into shrinking the pool down to make sure that it's, we're within our setbacks there.
Can I add something?
Not yet.
You will in a minute. Are there any questions?
There will be a fence around this pool,
Correct.
around it and into the house?
Yes, it'll completely enclose the pool area.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak for the application tonight? Okay.
He's gonna answer your question, sir. Do I need to read this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Nina Joshi solemnly swears that the statements I'm about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth and to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you.
So you asked how did we figure out that it was the wrong property line? So when we did the application to CCN, they had requested a site survey, but they requested a site survey when we were putting in the fence. And that was because there's, at CCN, they have markers. So we've lived in the CCN for about 14 years, and we had just purchased this property, and those markers are usually the markers that show where the property are, and that's how it's operated. So, and the previous owner had landscaping that came 3 feet from those markers. So why I know we shouldn't have used the GIS, or they shouldn't have used the GIS, it just made sense because of all the other markers, and the landscape was completely out of bounds from where the surveyor, when they came in to survey for the fence, it was 15 feet short from what the landscape was.
I see.
So that's part of what happened in this, is the previous owners were either did not know that that was not their property, or did not care and didn't communicate it to
Right,
us. So
right.
that was the problem.
Does the area where you're completing this, does it have a homeowners association?
It does, and that is Brian Corey.
Okay.
So he's involved in that homeowners association with CCN.
Okay.
So we originally requested that we purchase that property because we had been taking care of it, the previous owners had been taking care of it, and before we got the site survey, nobody really knew that it wasn't the property that was with the house.
I see.
So, but that got more complicated, so we went this other direction.
Okay.
So that's what happened, so.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for the case tonight, the application? All right, hearing no one else wishing to speak for, and I was remiss, I forgot to ask, was there anything written submitted to, prior to the hearing tonight for this case?
For comments? No.
Yeah, okay. All right, is there anyone wishing to speak against? Does anyone have any neutral comments they'd like to make? Hearing no other testimony for case A47, I'll close the public portion and open it up amongst the members.
I feel like we're being asked to pass something after the horse has been out and they close the gate behind it.
Hmm.
You know, that's the impression I get. That being said, and I appreciate everything that they've done once they found out that there was an issue, it would be nice if CNN had submitted something in writing, or if you had something in writing to where they didn't have an issue with the fish placement or the landscaping that is to be done on their property. You know, that would be nice. We're not doing anything about the landscaping.
Right.
I think the fence placement is. It would have just been nice if the Country Club of the North had taken time to say, yeah, we understand, we agree, and we don't have any issue to whatever the resolution
But
was.
they had it surveyed,
Understand.
okay? The fence is gonna be on the property line,
But
which is perfectly fine.
But again, they have an agreement to be able to put the landscaping in. And let's face it, the landscaping really isn't
Right.
to help
No.
the golf course, is to give privacy to the pool area.
Right, but they're gonna put all that landscaping in, and Country Club of the North's gonna own it, technically.
And it'd be nice if they said, hey, yeah, we understand this is it. You know, what happens if they put 5 or 6 pine trees along there to give them that nice windbreak barrier that we have all seen before, and it infringes into where they think the golf course is. It's not our issue, but it would have been nice to know that the Country Club of the North would. That's the only thing I have.
Okay. Any comments from this side? Any other questions or discussion?
I just,
Sure.
I mean, I just, in the issues, you said Country Club of the North considers this resolved, so.
Yeah.
They did make a comment, but they didn't make it in writing. I guess they let you know.
Yeah, we work with Brian Corey pretty regularly on all sorts of zoning issues, you know, tall grass, all that kind of stuff at Country Club of the North. It's our understanding that the HOA has approved this proposed fence location, or I'm sorry, this proposed pool configuration and the proposed fence location. So that's why we believe, when we say that we consider it resolved, or we believe it's considered resolved, if the HOA has approved these 2 locations, then we don't see CCN having an issue.
From Country Club of the North. You didn't get anything from the neighbor?
In terms of like written comment or
Yeah,
anything?
no, nothing.
I've talked to her, and she was fine with it.
Are you going to
She knew
add,
about this
are you
meeting.
going to add,
She did know about this meeting, and she said.
are you gonna add plantings on their property?
Am I gonna start?
Are you gonna add trees on their property?
At this point, we hadn't considered it.
Okay, so that, they're not talking about putting trees.
No, they're putting landscaping, whatever they
Well,
want to do with
I
landscaping.
mean, right now, I think we were just putting the fence on the property line, and
Right, and you're gonna do,
Brian Corey said we could put landscaping on that, but we don't have that in the plan.
right, so any landscaping that you're gonna do is gonna be on your side of the fence.
Any landscaping is gonna be on our side of the fence, and if we were to put trees at that, we'd work with Brian Corey to approve.
So, does that help at all?
Oh, I had no issue. I was just saying it would
So-
have been nice if we had heard.
Right, but
from the
But if this had all been done exactly the way it should have been done to begin with, and they put that fence on the property line, we would never know if they planted pine trees or oak trees
Nope.
on Country Club of the North property. And Country Club of the North might come along and plant something there, right? And we don't have any, we don't govern HOAs,
No.
and they have no,
You can't govern us.
right.
Just because they approved it doesn't necessarily mean that we have.
Correct, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
I think when it comes down to it, I think the pool company has learned a valuable lesson
oh, yes.
for Green County. But I
Yes, but
think
he's-
when you look at the cost to the owners and their efforts and what they've done, I think that we should approve it wholeheartedly. But I think that the pool company should take very good notes for the future.
And he stated that, and he's not gonna use the GIS anymore. It's costing dearly because he's had to move the darn
But
thing.
I don't think that we should, I think we should approve it and not, everybody's done their best to try to comply.
Right.
I'm a little surprised with them having used the land for 14 years and the previous owners having used it for 14 years. There wasn't some kind of possession issue with the land, the Country Club in the North. Being that,
25 years.
being that open kind of a
Yeah.
using of someone else's property.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised there wasn't more of a civil action there.
Well, it's,
I've had some experience with parcels of land butting up and trying, and I agree with them. It's a headache once you try to incorporate a small portion from one property to
Sure.
the next. It is a headache to do that, and I can understand why they opted to go the direction they did.
Okay.
well, with comments made, would someone like to propose a motion?
I propose to approve
And
the variance as written.
As
submitted.
As submitted, okay. Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Second's been made.
So who made the motion, sorry? Christie? And the second was John?
Mr. Martinsek?
No,
Yeah.
not quite yet,
Oh,
not quite
sorry.
yet, because we have to ask, is
Yes,
there
I'll
any
second.
further discussion on the motion, or any changes to the motion that would like to be made?
You know, just keep in mind that you can pour a driveway right up to the property line.
Right.
So,
Okay.
that 4-foot or 5-foot concrete apron around the pool, to me, is not an issue.
Okay. Okay,
All right. Mr. Martinsek?
yes,
Ms. Gottwald?
Yes.
Mr. Huntsman?
yes,
Mr. Hemrich?
Yes,
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you.
okay.
But I agree with you. Some.
Okay, now we have about a 3-minute or 5-minute
Yeah.
pause because you have to
Because it
write out the
specifically says in
paperwork
the code.
that we have to sign, and then we'll let them go on their way.
I don't understand.
put a sidewalk all the way around your yard.
Right.
Put an apron around the pool.
That's,
Yeah, I
That
don't,
needs to be changed.
yeah,
You know, they-
and that way,
I'm curious about that.
I understand what he said about it's just integrated by all the whole. That's kind of what I think.
Yep.
We can't take
but otherwise we're all set.
it.
So I'll just leave it at that.
They would attach to
Right.
Oh, yeah.
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 We're gonna have the apron around the pool.
Calamity or neglect, following the rules.
Yeah, that would be.
Especially with
Yeah.
It's only 21 hours.
I don't understand.
So,
That's what I'm saying, if they used it for 25 years and it's open doors and nobody objected at one time, they could have just brought a property dispute to quiet title for adverse possession and owned it. Yeah.
But you as an attorney or lawyer knows that they gotta have all kinds of records and dates of
They do,
when they
but
mowed it.
that's what I'm saying, like, if they occupy this land for 25 years, adverse possession, you know,
She
she says that she's been on it for 14 years, and she says they've been at for 25, but people before that used it. You can tack on every owner. If they've been 21
But
years,
you
they
don't know,
should
you
keep
don't know
it.
what kind of records the previous owner had.
No, but it doesn't matter.
today's date.
If you,
They can just go in and say, we maintained it?
if nobody else objected or for 21 years, absolutely. Absolutely. That's like a bar exam question. Absolutely. I know, it doesn't mean it's fair, but that's what the law is. So yeah, that's one of those grounds. They just disagree.
I don't think I.
But those kind of cases are never brought
They would
before because
argue
people
that they
object
mowed it.
before.
But what do you do when they say, well, we mowed it sometimes?
Right. No, they'd have to prove it.
What would they say? They say,
Well, I didn't bring the suit, so I don't have to do anything.
No,
but
what date
that's
did
what I-
you mow? What date did you mow?
Right, but they've got landscaping 15 yards in. If they've got landscaping and they've been mowing it for 21 years and nobody said anything for 21 years.
You don't know anything
Oh,
about
I
the
don't know.
previous
No.
owner.
Right, no, I don't know. I'm just surprised there wasn't that
Right.
discussion.
Right.
Well, there has been that discussion,
Got it.
but we want to get full. So that discussion will ensue.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
It's, I mean, they even, if they were worried, they even said, oh, it's probably a foot off. You're talking about a foot off. I mean, they expected it to be our property. We expected it to be our property.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we bought an expensive house assuming it was our property.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
yes, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
like,
That
real
would-
concern on our parts that
That'd be a fun
it's
suit.
not dealt with well.
I just found out my cousin.
Alright, so this is your guys' copy.
Thank you very much.
Who's on the golf course even close to this?
Sure.
What's that?
Is the golf course itself, the driving part of it?
Yeah, well, you're
Close to this?
right down there, I think we should have been.
These guys aren't.
Yeah, they're certain. And that's why, you know, the rough.
Well, and I don't think so.
Far enough
Yeah, I
away
mean,
that
if
they don't
they,
need a net.
if they operated 15 feet out, they mowed 15 feet out, they've got landscaping out, it's been over 21 years and the other side did object, they should just be able to acquire that whole thing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah.
But I've seen,
I think they're a lot nicer person.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the next case, case number 848. Would you like to read the application
Sure.
into the record?
All right, so the purpose of this hearing is so that the Board of Zoning Appeals may review and act on a variance request, case number 848, made by property owner William West. Nature of the request is to seek a variance from the requirement that no accessory or other structure is to encroach upon any yard setback. The applicant seeking a variance from the requirements of Article 18.01-3, which says no building or structure shall be erected, nor shall any land be used except in conformance with the yard and lot regulations of the district in which the buildings or use be located. The applicant desires to build a deck within the required rear yard setback. And I have not created a staff report. We believe this case is extremely cut and dry. It is the exact kind of case that the BZA exists for. A very small lot with maybe 10 feet between the edge of their house and the edge of their rear yard setback. We don't see any issues with it at all. We'd be glad to answer any questions about the property or about, you know, our position, but we do not feel this even rose to the level of requiring a staff report for you all.
Thank you. Thank you. With that stated, someone wishing to speak for the applicant tonight? Absolutely.
I'll begin by reading the oath. I, Aaron Collier, I suppose it would be best to have the business address at 7577 Central Park Boulevard out in Mason, Ohio. Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you know, the whole gist of it is the expansion with the structure that's going to be encroaching into the backyard setback, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. What options did you look at in order to make this doable with keeping it as minimal as an intrusion into the backyard setback as you could?
So there are a variety of options and a variety of directions that we could take things. Most of them would be just having something at grade. So we explored the idea of potentially proposing something that includes pavers, something that includes concrete. That way we wouldn't have to be here having this discussion at all. But the fact of the matter is we build primarily decks, pavers, a variety of outdoor structures. And when it comes down to it, decks are just, they feel the warmest. And so we wanted to go through this process in order to make something that's most comfortable for our client and William West and his family. So we did explore a variety of options, but considering the setback is 35 feet and the available space would be 3 feet if we were to continue with the deck, we thought that it was worth the try to bring everything before you today.
Okay. Now, the 3 feet portion that you're talking about, that's only just a portion of the deck build out, isn't it?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. How about the other sections? How are they handled?
Of
How are you
course.
handling those?
Of course. So that section's a tad bit longer. The total length of the structure is 48 feet. The portion of the structure I'm talking about where there's 3 feet away from what's the morning room of this structure would be approximately 16 feet. So there is another 32 feet there. Nevertheless, due to the sheer size of the backyard, we feel that, one, it wouldn't be encroaching on anyone else's property. It's considerably far away from all sides. And not only that, but it would be a beautiful addition to what's already there. And we feel that it would be appropriate for the design if it wrapped around that space. So although I agree, there is a space that is auxiliary that fits rather well for a singular deck, we believe that it stays within the spirit of the space to have it go across the whole of the back.
Beyond the deck to the property line between the buildings themselves, are there any type of visual barriers like trees or anything of this nature, or is it all just open?
It's all pretty open. It's a brand new neighborhood, so there hasn't really been much time for things to grow or potentially obstruct the view.
The bump out on the house, is that a porch, a room? It's a what?
A morning room?
What does that mean?
Forgive me, sir. So that structure is a portion of the home. A morning room is
Well, I
just a,
understand.
It's like a breakfast area.
yeah,
Breakfast area?
there you go.
So there's a door from there, would be out to the deck?
Yes, sir.
And he asked, you're 24 feet from the property line, the further extension of the deck.
Yes, sir.
But when it comes in, how far is that from the property line? I mean, you've got this,
Like from here to
the step
here,
back
Aaron.
from there to there.
Okay, from those two spaces?
Yeah.
So it would be a total of, let's see, so that space would be, so the setback is 35, comes out 16 on that side. So that would be a total of 21 feet. So we're still quite a ways away.
You mean 27? Is it 3 feet diagonal?
That's only 3 feet step, that's a
From
3 foot
where's
step.
Farthest out, so hold on. Is it 3 feet from here to here? Like
Oh,
from here to
forgive me.
that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so
I
it'd be-
apologize, I
so it'd be
misunderstood.
27 feet out.
27 feet.
Yes, sir.
Is there no deck on the house now?
None.
No.
I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Is the closest to any one property line you're going to be with the deck 12 feet?
Yes, sir. On
Is that correct on the side?
The side yard.
that's correct.
Yeah.
And in the backyard, you're looking at 24, and on the other side, 36 feet from the property line, is that, I want to make sure, okay.
What's the required setback for a side yard?
I'd have to look for that neighborhood. We don't believe it encroaches into the side yard setback. That's all I can,
But
I'd
it-
have to.
But
look
it's the
at
length of the
exact-
house, right?
Once again?
the deck is the size of the house.
Yes, sir, in width.
So if they got the house in there,
It better meet it, yeah.
I would certainly hope so. That'll be a totally different conversation.
Okay, okay. Are there any utilities at all underneath where the deck is going to be?
No, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, as far as we're aware, that's correct.
okay.
and is this about right? It's a 3-step down or 4-step down? To grade?
To the grade, yes. The deck is flush with the door, of course.
So it's flush to the door and, okay.
Correct.
Any questions?
So this bump out, this 3-sided bump out on the farthest edge out from the house, basically in the middle, is that closer to the property line than 24 feet? The little bump out,
You're talking about this little
this
bit right
little
here?
3-sided bump out here, I call it, basically in the middle?
He's talking about the stair.
What is that?
So,
Stairs.
yes, so those stairs, my friend, they would be,
Stairs. Those are stairs?
Yeah.
yes, sir. They're flaring stairs, so they are wider at the top and they become smaller towards the bottom. Technically, I suppose that would be a little bit closer than 24 feet, but it would be a matter of inches.
Well, it's more than,
Got to have 4 steps down.
And that,
this is a top view of it.
yeah, that's looking down on it, yeah.
How can it be shorter?
That doesn't look like steps.
Makes sense to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are you saying that's 3 feet 2 1/4 inches of stairs up to the level of the deck? On each side, you got stairs coming up each side?
Yes, sir. It's, they're certainly irregularly shaped, but it's, I assure you,
Okay,
it's.
but that point of those stairs
Mhm.
is closer than 24 feet to the property line, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So to give you an idea, each of those treads is going to be 11 inches out. So at most, it would be a further 33 inches, which I don't
What's the
necessarily.
width of your, what's the width of the widest step plate, stair tread?
The depth, so where you're
Not
actually.
the depth, the width of it, when you're walking up it.
Okay,
3 feet?
the
4
actual,
feet?
the actual width
right.
of it relative to the deck, so this space, as you're walking up, is approximately 7 feet.
The stairs are 7 feet wide?
Yes, sir. Whereas the depth, the actual tread where you're placing your foot, that's 11 inches.
11 inches deep?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So the dimension you give it, the 24-foot dimension is off the straight part of the deck.
Yes, sir.
It's not on this bump out.
No,
So that bump out's closer, if that,
to 3 feet.
well, you said it's 7 feet wide. So my point is, we're not showing what this dimension is to the property line. The closest part of the deck is not being identified.
Okay.
I
This has
apologize.
been identified as 24 feet. This is a little more than 24 feet because it steps back, see it?
27.
But this, if those are 7 feet wide,
No, I'm thinking, because it's a 3-step based on.
it's 3
No,
steps.
Okay. so-
1, 2, 3.
No, no,
And then
no.
1, 2, 3, he said.
No, I don't, I think.
This is a top view.
Yeah, no, it's a top view, but I think the boards and the planks are in this direction, and this is only 3 feet out.
Yes, sir.
Is
Well,
it-
it's a
is-
little bit less than 3 feet, but.
Okay, so if that's 24 feet, then we're looking at 21 feet.
Right.
Yeah,
We're looking at 21 feet to the property line, not 24.
that is.
I
that's it.
apologize for that discrepancy, my
'Cause
friend.
that's part of the
Generally,
deck.
correct. I apologize.
And
Generally
that's the
speaking, we
closest part
don't.
of-
Yeah, that's what that would be.
So we're encroaching from 35 feet, we're down to 21 feet,
That's correct.
all right? If you're calling that 3 feet wide.
I'm just looking at this portion of it.
That's a side view, I understand that.
Right, and that's what,
This is a top view.
right, and
Which-
that's the 7 feet coming across in this direction.
Okay, and if this is 3 feet,
Right.
then,
It has to
and
be
this is
21.
24 feet here.
I agree.
That's 21 feet. The closest part of that deck to the property line is only 21 feet.
I agree,
Okay.
I agree,
Not 24.
yeah.
Is this deck covered?
A portion of it, yes, sir.
Which
So
portion?
the portion that is closer on the interior, so the space that's going to be the longer run off of the morning room, the whole of that is going to be covered, sir.
So does it go over the steps, or does it
No, sir, it does not.
just to the size of the deck?
Correct.
I think it would be like, am I right, Aaron? It kind of would come out from the edge of the morning room and just straight out to the.
Exactly. Technically, it 45s to the morning room, but that's more or less what we're doing.
Joists, these are the rafters.
Yeah,
Wow,
We're looking at here.
right, right.
So you-
Yeah,
it-
you're
it's
right.
Covered all the way here?
16 inches.
Yes,
in
sir.
the center.
And then here, here.
Well, it actually 45s over. Forgive me, I don't know if I can walk over there, but
I
it
think
45s
I see
over
what
to
you're
these
saying.
stairs.
It kind of goes like that.
There you go.
Stair
Yeah.
grids.
Perfect.
So it'll go like this and then like
Puts it
this.
even closer.
Exactly.
All right.
How close do we go?
I don't know.
Okay, let's see. So the part that's gonna have the roof on it is a 16-foot part or the 13-foot part?
16.
16? All the way over to the 13-foot?
Leo, it'll kind of take this shape if you wanna, so it'll like 45 right
Yeah.
here.
Correct.
And then cover the rest of this.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Am I looking at, I guess it doesn't really matter.
It's,
I don't think you show the stairs on this drawing.
He doesn't.
On which drawing, sir?
You don't show the stairs on the
page
drawing of the,
D3.
the floor joists. You don't show the stairs. I just drew them in here.
Oh, no, sir. So that's not actually how the stairs are. Would it be possible to bring up the frame drawing on this screen? Is that a possibility at all?
Probably. D3, was it?
Yeah.
It should be. If I may, is it all right if I walk over there and
Sure.
show you?
Sure thing.
Thank you. So you'll see a separation between these floors here, correct? So these are
Okay.
where the 3 stairs are going to be. The stairs are not going to come off as shown in your drawings.
Okay.
The reason why these are separated is because these are going to be the supports for each of the treads. These are what we refer to as the stringers of the stairs.
Stringers, yes. Okay, all right.
Okay.
I apologize if this was a pretty explain it well. Does that make sense?
Are there other decks in the neighborhood that are similar to the
No.
encroaching the backyard? Does anybody know? I don't think.
Looks like it's
Most
30
of the
feet.
decks come off, most of the decks do not come off the morning room.
Most of the decks are.
Everybody has small decks leading to the living room door.
Hold on, because you have to go up there, okay?
Being the
Okay.
nosy neighbor, I did drive by and most of the decks seem to be more like 10 by 20 or 12 by something, 18 or whatever, and there's at least 2 or 3 decks right around him, or, that I've noticed.
Okay. Okay.
Is that-
14-foot, encroaching 14 feet.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we have any more questions from Mr. Green? At the moment?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time. I appreciate it.
And would you please go to the podium and read the oath?
So, do any of those decks encroach on the 35 foot?
They do not, because they're on the right side.
Would you mind
Yeah.
just reading that out for me?
William West, 1790 Spring Meadows Drive, Xenia, Ohio, 45385, solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. You're saying that there's nobody has yet built from the sunroom out?
From what I've seen, I haven't gone through the whole neighborhood, just driving by, looking in backyards. There is an awning, a covered awning, and a deck on the lower portion of the neighborhood. But like mine, we want in front of the morning room to be uncovered and the other portion to be covered. So we can have a dining table out there with maybe an umbrella on that portion, and then a sectional and table with a fire pit on the covered section. We're gonna get lights installed in the ceiling of the awning, ceiling fan, so we can enjoy, if it's raining. And then also, if we wanna, be out in the sunlight, we can have that portion uncovered. So,
Okay,
we're looking to
try
do a
get as
pool.
much set-
we're looking to
extended
do a
use as
pool
possible.
and a fence as well.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my wife, we've been here 5, 6 years now. So we're looking to make this our forever home. We just had a child, so we're looking to make a backyard oasis.
Is your yard about the same level as the yard behind you? The house
It
behind
is,
you?
it is
Or
completely level,
It is, okay.
completely level. Except for the back left portion, if you're looking out from my house,
Okay.
there's a little hump due to the water flow right at my property line.
Right here.
Okay.
And I do have a rear visual if that helps you guys.
Behind it, we have a little deeper yard.
Are you planning on fencing the property?
We are.
In the future?
So
Okay.
after this project, we're looking at doing a pool, which that was very helpful. Because Knickerbocker actually came out and they weren't worried about the apron. They said the edge of the pool has to be 10 feet from the property line. So that's why we're building the deck as far out as we want, so.
Okay.
And then we are gonna have a 6-foot privacy fence going around. My neighbors on the corner there, below the red box, they have a 4-foot fence. We're really good friends with them, so we're gonna tie in our 6-foot fence in between our properties, and then the neighbors on the other side, they do not have a fence. No one else around us has fences in the rear.
Okay. Okay. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's kind of a waste to ask for anybody wishing to speak against or neutral comments,
All
so,
the neighbors were notified?
yeah, within the
500
red circle, I
radius.
believe.
No
that
comment.
they-
500 feet?
Yeah, right there, yeah, the
Yeah.
500 feet. And we haven't received anything in record for written for the case, okay. Well, I'll close the public portion and open it up amongst the members.
I say go for it. That sounds great.
Trying to put 10 pounds of stuff in 5 pounds.
That's what it looks like.
It is.
It's amazing they can make a lot that small.
He's talking about putting a pool behind this.
Well, I mean,
That could be-
Not a whole lot of room left.
I think it's on
I'll
the
be honest
side.
with you guys, it's gonna be real difficult to put a pool in there with that. It's gonna be
Let's put it
very
under the
difficult.
deck.
Might wanna look
Yeah.
at one of those swim spas.
You know, and that's something you might consider. If you're thinking about putting a pool in your backyard, look strongly at possibly shrinking this back a foot or two to give you room, and what you learned tonight about pools.
So is the apron, does that infringe on the 10-foot?
Yes,
You have to get a variance.
you
Right,
have to get a variance for that.
and I mean, I don't wanna speak for the board, but I know for me and staff reports, if you've already got a variance for this deck, it's gonna be harder for me to recommend a variance for the pool as well. Do you see what I mean?
Just a suggestion, you know, looking down in the future, if you're thinking about a pool, maybe go and do a little measuring, and you might decide, hey, you know what, we do need to shrink this back a little.
So for a pool apron, what's the guidelines on the apron
So,
as opposed to the variance?
the pool and its apron, so the edge of the pool includes the apron, has to be 10 feet out from your property lines. So that would be, it can encroach in your setbacks. A pool can encroach in a rear yard setback.
What if I wanted the apron of a pool to be my entire grass area of my backyard? What if I wanted pavers to cover all the way around the pool?
Well, you have to stay 10 feet from the property line with the pavers,
If you wanted that, you have to apply.
without
for
the variance.
You said, I thought you had to have the concrete part of the paved section
Yes, you do.
from the 10 feet, but then I thought you could do whatever you wanted with pavers that are removable to the rest of the property line. Because I actually looked into Knickerbocker and into Heat Wave at one point, didn't do either one,
Yeah.
but that's what they told me, because our property would be difficult.
I
Pavement's
believe they
paved.
have a
Right,
bit
well, I
of a
mean, like the bricks.
misunderstanding. If it functions as the apron of the pool, at least the way our code reads.
Sure.
I mean, you could make the argument either way, and I know you could make the argument real well, but, you know, the way we look at it,
Sure.
pavers as an apron is a pool apron.
Got it, okay.
So,
It can be made out of wood.
Gotcha.
Still an
I
apron.
will say the pool companies are not saying that. Doesn't mean the zoning part isn't,
we found that the
Correct,
pool
but the pool
companies in
companies are not.
general tend to make a sale and then figure stuff out. And that,
Mhm.
and I mean, I'm not saying that as any kind of disparaging remark,
Mhm.
but just the way we've worked with pool companies, they're salesmen. They'll make the sale first and figure out how to make it work later.
Heat-wave pools are a
Understood.
valuable lesson in
Uh-huh,
life.
exactly.
I think so, I think so.
An expensive one.
And
Yes.
Knickerbocker's learned an expensive lesson or two from us as well about
Yes.
Right.
fences and how
Absolutely.
serious we are about requiring them. So,
Yeah.
you know, if they need to learn this lesson too, that's,
So to answer your question again, to clarify, you have to, if you're gonna put a pool in and you want a 5-foot apron, the 5-foot apron has to stay off 10 feet off the property line unless you come in and try to get a variance.
Right.
You know,
Understood.
you can shrink your apron up to 2 feet, that helps you in putting it closer to the property line
Right.
versus 5 feet or a foot.
Might be able to put gravel
You
or
have to
something in
have
there
10 feet
instead of,
grass around
Gravel, we
the
can't-
property.
you
yeah.
say, instead of having grass, you can always do gravel.
gravel's nothing really.
I mean, I
we
know
can-
you don't want gravel in your pool because you don't want your filters and all
I'm trying
that,
to take advantage of
but-
every inch of
but-
space in my backyard, that's why I purchased a $10,000 lot in Ryan Homes.
Right, right.
I saw a new thing out, and it's actually affordable artificial turf that would be able to be put in there and would work for one.
I bet that's a great idea, honestly.
Oh, yeah. We
That is a
wouldn't-
good
I don't-
idea.
Nobody, I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
looks
we'd
like
ever
grass,
count
but
that
you
as
never
a
have to
problem.
mow it.
And
called
it's not gonna get
Never
money
placed my yard
going
cat.
into the pool, and you don't have to worry about the variance.
True,
Anyway.
true.
Yeah, you're
All
right.
Well, we can't solve his pool problem tonight,
Sure.
but
No.
I think the deck's
Okay.
okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
we're 21 feet from the property line, not 24,
Right.
Yeah.
if that makes a hell of beans. I mean, there's gotta be. Anyway,
Anyway.
okay.
If I may provide just a little bit of context, something that we're doing here in the future is the omnibus update for our zoning resolution, kind of a catch-all, spelling, grammar, all that kind of stuff, but also there's some policy change in there. And one of the big ones is we are attempting to tie more of our requirements for spacing, allowable size of accessory structures, those kind of things, to percent coverage of impervious surface is kind of what we're really looking to make the benchmark.
That-
Well, you need to go in and change the pool thing. That's sort of silly that you
Yeah.
pour a driveway up to your property line.
And that's nice that you're looking at wanting to
Right.
do that, but we have to go by what we're
Yeah,
dealing with.
Oh, exactly.
we're locked
Sure.
into what we have right now.
Right.
Absolutely, which is why they have to get the variance, no question.
Right.
But
Right.
just to give you an idea of kind of where we're going, if that helps push
If-
the scales, like tip the scales, I guess is what I want to
If
say.
the trustees approve it.
Correct, if the trustees approve it.
You know, the next person could come in and ask for this to be 24 feet long, and this to be 17 feet long.
And they do.
Somebody will.
No, and they have,
They're gonna
and
say,
they
well,
do.
you let Mr. West do it up the street, even though we don't set precedents,
I know.
we'll still hear it.
Yeah, I know. All right,
All right.
if there's no more discussion, does someone want to try to craft a motion?
I make a motion that variance, or request for variance, case 848, be approved as written or submitted.
And submitted. Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been second. Is there any further discussion on the motion, or do you want to make any changes to it? Not hearing any discussion, we'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Mr. Martinsek,
I don't have a, no, I think
Abstain.
no.
Oh, no.
Ms. Gottwald,
I'd vote for it.
Mr. Huntsman,
Yes?
Mr. Hemrich.
No.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
So the motion passes. All right, if you'll give us a moment, we'll write up the sheet for you guys to have signed and everything. Congratulations, guys. And board, what I think this shows us as a organization here is kind of where might the limit be. It kind of gives us an idea, at least in our mind, as we're looking at these variance cases, when people, because people always ask, what are the chances? And we go, we can't give you that. I can always tell them what my staff recommendation will be, but this is good to know that this might be towing the line of what we're comfortable with in terms of encroaching
Right at the line.
yard setbacks.
Really close.
That's a hell of an adjustment, 14 feet.
I agree. It's not lightly that I make my recommendation. There's a lot that goes into it, and most of it for me is that it's hard to punish residents for
Yep.
what's going on when neighborhoods get developed like this. We're trying to address a lot of these issues that cause this kind of situation in subdivision practices and our own site planning practices. But these neighborhoods exist. So if that gives you a
But
bit of an idea.
you're not punishing anyone. No, that's bad.
Or, yeah,
Because
you're
they knew
correct.
the size of the lot when they bought it. They knew the size of the house they wanted to put on it.
Yeah.
And they knew that the house had no deck at the time, and they'll probably have a deck or a patio at some point. So,
And I agree that in all fairness, most people, when they buy a house, have no idea anything about the codes and what.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm sure they don't.
So then all of a sudden they got this big plan, and let's face it, getting back to what you were saying about pool, home builders are gonna be the same way. You're gonna build a house, eventually I wanna put a 20-foot deck on there. Well, it won't be any problem, even though they know
Correct.
there's a problem.
Oh, they're salesmen, they're gonna tell you whatever you wanna hear.
And, yeah, maybe phrasing it as we punishing people is definitely an incorrect way to put it. And that's the major driver, is because we hear that all the time. People say,
Holding
when
them
we were sold the home, we told them what we wanted to do, and they said, yeah, sure, no problem. Now, if it were me buying a home, I'd probably trust but verify. But that's only because I work in zoning, truthfully. If I hadn't had this job before, I might listen to a salesman and go, okay, that sounds great,
It's no
thanks.
different
This is
than
my
a
dream
realtor
home.
that tells the new homeowner, oh, that field back there, oh, nothing will ever be built.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Beavercreek Township.
That sounds kind of
You know, what Lori says, if you enjoy the view, you buy the view. That way nothing builds behind you.
Got a bridge to sell you too. if
But,
you're interested.
yeah, people fall for that. Realtors telling them, oh, that vacant land back there, oh, they'll never build on that.
They would even say
They'll
that
be-
knowing
they'll
that
be
there
on the
was
list.
like a site plan getting approved, they'd say that too, so.
Yeah.
Those bulldozers don't pay any attention to them.
Right. Those trees over there, oh, they'll never cut those down.
Yeah, right.
Oh, good, we got this. So, to the applicants, what we'll do is once we get a resolution typed up and signed, which I don't know if you're available tomorrow, we try to do usually the next day. We'll email you a copy, Aaron, as the contractor. You can pass that along to your client. I would say this essentially, for us, you can begin the project, but the last step is to actually submit, if you haven't already, your application with this configuration to us. So just, you don't have to pay for it, you've already paid for it with the application for this. But you just need to submit that again online as soon as you can. Once that gets approved, you're all set. Okay? All right, thanks, guys.
Now, where is Manson, Ohio?
Mason, South Cincinnati,
My paper says Manson.
close to Cincinnati.
Really?
My paper says Manson
Oh, man.
in his address.
M-A-N?
I don't know where Mason
looks
is.
like
I
Mason.
see
That's
Mason.
why I asked. M-A-N-S-O-N.
Where are you living? Oh, you're on a different page.
Oh, that's on your drawings.
It's on your drawing.
It's on your drawings.
Yeah.
No, sure.
That's the only reason I asked.
Oh, that's not.
You can change it.
Oh, my goodness. Not on your drawing.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Mason at first, but now I thought, well, no, that says Manson. I gotta ask him where that's at.
My draftsman made a If I may ask the council, I'm so kind of here, so late at night, thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Martin II, well, as you said, both of you had a nay tonight. Of course, that hurts my heart. In the future, I'd love to know if there's anything that I can do better as a contractor in order to ensure that next time we come in here, we're able to say, yeah.
No, you explained it very well. You did a great job explaining and presenting it. I was just torn with it getting that close to the property line. So the only thing I would suggest is it's to the homeowner, to a homeowner would be to not, maybe we need to shrink it up a little bit, is all. But no, there's nothing you did wrong, you know. I strictly voted nay because I thought it was getting too close to the reverse setback.
That's it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Hope you have an excellent rest of your night.
Good.
Thank you.
Get started pounding tomorrow, get the holes dug.
I'll
pay for it first.
Wait till we get that.
Yeah, wait for lumber to come down. Jeez.
Oh, my God.
Is there any other business that we have to consider?
Unfortunately, we do not have any minutes for you, which is kind of part of what you're seeing, the change that you're seeing with our minute taker now. As far as any, there's some things coming down the pike through zoning commission, like I said, the omnibus update. We have some interesting cases in front of us. The trustees are going to hear 821 on July 14th. That's the big rezoning of the McIntyre property. And they hear on the 28th, 822, which is the repeal of the easement language. So we'll get back to how we were in terms of issuing permits and easements. And they also hear a major modification for a PUD, the River West PUD. So those things are on the horizon. We've got some great development news I'd be glad to share with you if you're interested, but no business for the BCA.
Okay. Is there anything coming in July?
Yes, we do have 2 cases on our desk already. I'll be honest with you, they came in very recently and I haven't had much chance to look at them, but I know I do have 2 applications on my desk. There may be more, although I'm unaware of any. I haven't had any discussions with folks that lead me to believe there'd be a third.
Okay, I will tell you that I will not be available in July.
Okay.
I'm going to be riding my bicycle across country, so.
Well, that's pretty good.
And I would ask, why?
How far?
3,800 miles.
You did say
We're gonna do the whole
motorbike?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Wow.
yeah.
I hope I never have to move my own body 3,800 miles under my own power in my entire lifetime,
I think
cumulatively.
I'll sit on the couch
Is
and
this
do ice
with
cream.
a cruise?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, a group.
It'll be cool.
Yeah.
You have fun.
So, yeah, okay, if
Make
there's
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.